It's Halloween. Oh, yes. Well, there's no need to scream. We haven't got going yet, obviously. And I'm not wearing any Halloween makeup. This is a normal daytime or evening time, should I say. Look, I hope you're keeping well. Yes, you look quite good in cobwebs, but we all do, don't we, if we've been sat around all day? You know what it's like. But thank you for joining me. Thank you to all the chums that have decided to spend a little bit of Halloween time together, because today I want to share this story with you that I think you'll really enjoy. And I know many of us love a very good ghost story, don't we? I don't know about you, but many, many years ago, I was working in an inn, a very old 18th century inn, in deepest Essex of all places. And I had no idea that this particular cellar was haunted. And in those days, you know, when you're a lot younger, you're very you just do what people tell you, don't they? And I went down to the cellar, and it was like a myriad of all sorts of bits of corridor, and you did definitely feel a presence, you know what I mean? So I've often been fascinated by this, simply because I think there's nothing more scary, and I can say this, than a theatre. But not when it's full, hopefully, with people applauding, although that's pretty scary in itself. But in fact, scary when, quite frankly, the lights go out. And this particular story that I want to share with you is all about a wonderful, now, well, sadly no longer with us, theatre, the Empire Theatre in Briggate in Leeds, West Yorkshire. And as people now decide to go in through this beautiful, wonderful department store called Harvey Nichols in Leeds, well, you have no idea exactly that you're walking across the stage where the likes of Gracie Fields, Charlie Chaplin, and in 1959, the wonderful and brilliant Sir Cliff Richard appeared on one of his very first pop tours, so much so that his fans loved him. They actually managed to knock down the stage door. I've had that problem myself, but it's normally with them wanting to get out, right? But on a serious note, a rather amazing story I've been able to uncover about a particular ghost that even on the very final night, on the 21st of February 1961, just ahead of the final curtain of the pantomime of that season, starring a very funny comedian called Nat Jackley, well, even then, the ghost of the Empire refused to be forgotten. As I say, the Leeds Empire was a magnificent place, a Matcham theatre at the turn, of course, of the last century, and was one of those places that really everybody wanted to appear. But like all big theatres, it had its ups and downs, and for a moment it was a cinema, then it was variety, vaudeville, straight plays. It really took off, in fact, during the heyday of the 1930s. Including a visit from the brilliant and southern comic Max Miller, who managed to persuade Yorkshire audiences that he too could make them laugh. However, it's more interesting when you look further back, because when you think about these wonderful Matcham haunted theatres, what you realise is that there's always a story hidden and buried. And this particular story all centres upon this lady, Flora. Now, Flora worked in the box office, and this was a very prestigious job if you think about it in the early 1900s. Suddenly she's mixing with the good and the great, selling tickets, meeting people, and more importantly, seeing all the movers and shakers in that particular area. Flora was very good looking, had sort of theatrical ambitions herself, and maybe thought by getting close to the world of theatre, some spot may come upon. Now, what was interesting was in the local pantomime, she did manage to get a very few small parts. But she made the big mistake of falling for a particular assistant theatre manager inside the theatre. The trouble was, like all budding romancers, well, sadly, he was already entangled, married. But Flora felt, being a decade at least younger than his wife and single and free, that she could pull him to one side and perhaps make a brand new life. He too had theatrical aspirations. Now, where this gets really interesting is clearly this particular gentleman, and we can't say their names because there must be some family relations still around. The bottom line is for Flora is that she felt that she could definitely pull him away. The true story, and what really emerged, was the fact that, well, he wasn't just, shall we say, faithful to Flora. There were many dancing girls backstage, magician's assistants, soubrettes, of course, and all of that sort of thing. What were big business and big news in that particular era. And sadly for Flora, she decided and found out that she wasn't the only one. Sadly, this was from the upper circle of the theatre, where she caught him, shall we say, philandering inside the orchestra pit alongside another new and much younger Squeeze. She didn't take it well, with a few sort of threats about ending it, telling his wife, all of that sort of stuff. It sort of petered out. But again, romance and, shall we say, scandal reared its ugly head. And more importantly for Flora, she felt that, and she knew that she couldn't necessarily keep him. Sadly though, there was an accident that was to happen, that was to take, well, the whole story in a different direction. Flora, one night, once again up in the circle, peered over to find once again that her man of her dreams was being less than kind, and she decided she could take no more. Now, it was put down in the local newspaper as something of an accident, but the true story goes that she decided to throw herself off the balcony. She didn't necessarily think she would, well, kill herself, but that's exactly what happened. And so the story goes, even to this day, that if you are shopping inside the now beautiful Harvey Nichols store in the very heart of Leeds, this is the sound of what you will hear on occasions. And the only remaining part of the building of the original Empire Theatre, as I say, which was pulled down in the early 1960s, is that. And apparently Flora takes a particular delight in hanging around the makeup stalls of Harvey Nicks. Her story is that of a real tragic story and tale, but what's really interesting is old thespians, haunted theatres, and of course ghosts from many, many years past never seemingly rest in the world of the theatrical events, do they? So consequently, while Flora's story has been forgotten, even though she's been spotted in and around the theatre by many different people over the years, she still remains something of a mystery. That's because, according to insiders, her story was buried to simply protect the manager. Now, how many stories do we know like that? As ever, happy Halloween. As ever, chums, thank you for joining me for our very, well, I think, and I hope that you've enjoyed our Halloween special. Now, it's over to you. You tell me in the comments below, have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever felt a presence? And more importantly, are the spirits truly all around us? And I'm not just talking about the bottled ones, of course, but the true spirits. Let me know your ghostly sightings. Have you ever stayed in a hotel and seen the Grey Lady? Or have you ever felt a presence in perhaps a building that you worked in and suddenly what they were telling you came true? And were you frightened? Or did you simply take it as a matter-of-fact course that we're all surrounded in one way or another by spirits? As ever, please, if you can, comment respectfully, like and share. And remember, don't have nightmares. Neil Sean in the very heart of your...